Welcome back to The Explainer. Today we've got a fantastic technical deep dive. We are looking at the complete transformation of our Openbao infrastructure running over on VPS1 Hostinger. If you're interacting with this system, whether you're building an automated agent or you're the one actually maintaining the server, this right here is your ultimate master reference guide. So let's just jump straight into it. Here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with the pre-migration state, move into executing the actual migration, take a look at what we have now, break down the new authentication flow, and finally wrap up with some absolutely crucial operational gotchas.
All right, part 1, our pre-migration state.
11. That is the exact number of critical gaps we identified when analyzing the old implementation against modern Openbao best practices. We were, frankly, severely lacking in a few really key areas, and it was leaving our automated systems both vulnerable and incredibly difficult to maintain. And what's wild here is the sheer amount of technical debt we uncovered. Just think about the high-severity items. We had absolutely no official proxy, meaning all our agents were doing inline authentication directly themselves. We were also suffering from massive policy sprawl. We're talking 14 separate, individually scoped per-agent policies. Tokens? They were expiring after just 1 hour with zero auto-renewal, which basically forced our agents to constantly detect expiry and manually log back in. Plus, we were 3 whole releases behind, stuck on version 2.2.0. And to top it all off, no telemetry. We were literally flying blind, with absolutely zero metrics or observability whatsoever.
Okay, so part 2, executing the migration.
To fix all that, we came up with this 4-step master plan. We took a highly logical approach. First up, upgrade the core version to 2.5.4 so we could natively preserve all our secrets and configs. Second, deploy the official Openbao proxy to finally handle token management properly. Third, tackle that crazy policy sprawl by unifying those 14 individual policies down to just 1. And lastly, wrap the whole thing up in proper observability using Prometheus and Grafana. But, migrations are never perfectly smooth, right? We hit some very real-world hurdles. When we tried to simply update an old app role, one created way back in version 2.2.0, we slammed right into this dreaded error, app role state corruption. Basically, the update caused a silent failure where the role looked like it existed, but logins would just outright fail. The big lesson here, because of storage schema changes between the versions, you should never try to just update a legacy v2.2.0 app role. Actually, scratch that. Don't update them at all. Always delete and recreate them from scratch in the new version. We also ran into this frustrating proxy configuration error. It turns out that Openbao 2.5.x actually requires a completely flat HCL structure for the proxy config. So we had to drop the old proxy wrapper block entirely and put our vault, auto off, and listener blocks right at the very top level of the configuration file.
Moving on to part 3, what we have now.
Our new ecosystem footprint is looking so much better. It features 4 distinct, highly specialized containers running in perfect harmony. We've got the core Openbao server, the new Bao proxy handling the authentication, Prometheus actively scraping our metrics, and Grafana visualizing the whole shebang. Now, notice the massive structural improvement here. In the old setup, agents handled their own inline authentication and had to manually relog in whenever their tokens expired. It was messy. Now the proxy manages the entire token lifecycle. It auto-authenticates itself at startup, and it auto-renews long before expiry. We've completely shifted that burden off the individual agents, making their code substantially lighter and far less prone to failure. We've also drastically reduced our attack surface and administrative overhead. We went from a tangled mess of 20 total disjointed policies down to just 6 beautifully streamlined ones. And we traded absolute blindness for full Prometheus metrics. Now we know exactly what our system is doing at all times, tracking every single API call and storage metric.
Let's look at part 4, the new authentication flow.
So the fundamental question is, how do agents actually access their secrets now? If you're building an automated agent or you're a DevOps engineer writing the code for one, this is absolutely the most critical question you need answered to interact with the new 2.5.4 system. Let's break down this elegant new flow step by step. Step 1, the proxy auto-authenticates itself right at startup using its own app role. Step 2, it writes its authenticated token to a file sync at a very specific path. Now step 3 is where it gets really clever. The agent sends its request to the proxy, but it passes its own app role token. Step 4, the proxy adds its authenticated session to manage the connection, but forwards the agent's token for the actual authorization. So basically, the proxy handles the ongoing connection and the token renewal, but the individual agent's token is what dictates its distinct permissions.
And what exactly are those agent permissions? Well, they're now defined by this single unified agent policy. Instead of 14 different files to manage, this one single policy grants universal create, read, update, and delete access on the secret path. It also gives read access for system mounts and token lookup capabilities. Honestly, it makes maintenance an absolute breeze, all while keeping the agent safely fenced out of our administrative systems.
And finally, Part 5, Operational Gotchas.
These right here are our absolute, non-negotiable credential enforcement rules. Number 1, 1Password is the single source of truth for all root tokens and unseal keys, period. Number 2, OpenVault purely handles runtime secret distribution. You must never, ever store credentials on disk or in environment files in plain text. And if you do happen to find secrets sitting on a disk somewhere, you stop immediately, you report the path, confirm the secret is safely inside OpenVault or 1Password, and you delete that local file. Violating these rules fundamentally compromises the integrity of our entire new setup, so please take them seriously.
Now, what happens if you're making API calls and suddenly you get this dreaded message, Vault is sealed? Well, if you just restarted the Docker container or the host rebooted, you're definitely going to see this symptom. And that's actually by design. This happens because the Shamir unseal key is never persisted in memory across reboots. That's exactly how a secure, ephemeral system is supposed to behave. To fix a sealed vault, you have to manually step in. You'll run this exact command on the server. Docker exec -it Openbao vault operator unseal. Once you run that, it'll prompt you for the unseal key, which, remember our core rules, you will go grab safely from 1Password. Keep this rapid-fire troubleshooting list handy, because I guarantee you'll run into these edge cases at some point. First, if you get a 204 no content response from the API, don't panic. That just means the call was successful, but there's no body text to return. If your AppRo login fails with an invalid secret ID, check if the secret ID number uses was set to 1, because that setting consumes the token immediately the second it's generated. Getting a 403 error on your metrics? You probably need to move the unauthenticated metrics access flag into your listener block, not the telemetry block. Oh, and if Prometheus or Grafana are loop crashing with permission denied, double-check your host directory UID ownership. They properly run as non-root users now, so file permissions really need to reflect that. So, with all that context in mind, are you ready to securely operate within the new v2.5.4 infrastructure? We've thoroughly broken down what we used to have, how we navigated the weird intricacies of the migration, and the incredibly streamlined, highly observable system we get to rely on today. I challenge you to take this master reference guide and apply these exact security principles directly to your next automated deployment. You've got the blueprint now. Thanks so much for joining me on The Explainer, and keep building securely.